So welcome everyone. This session is actually designed to just change the perspective of people who thinks that conversational AI is only limited to the text bot. But I don't think that conversational AI is limited to text bot, but is actually more of a voice assistance and sophisticated bots. So a little introduction about me has given by Stephen. So I'm going to just wrap up that I'm a machine learning engineer at Omdena also, where I contribute to a lot of projects, which is actually focused on AI-driven solutions. And I'm also Microsoft Student Ambassador, where we just collaborate and communicate at various events and help students to grow in technologies. So moving ahead with the conversational AI. So conversational AI is actually conversational artificial intelligence, which refers to the chatbots, which is not limited to text bot, but it's also a voice assistant, which can perform various operations, for example, video, speeches, text, file, documents, and a lot of things can be explored depending upon the customizations. So if I say that a bot is an application exactly that is interacting with a customer or a user in a form of text, graphics, or speech, and it can also be customized in a more sophisticated way, that is you can either interact it in a video format. And example for video format is when the HR, that is the bot HR, is taking your interview in the form of video, and it captures your frames and saving your recording and giving you the insights about what did you tell that bot. So that is an example. If I say that the conversational AI follows principles, then I'm going to say that four principles are the main principles which has to be focused while building any kind of a bot. So first is input generation. It is the first step and the very crucial step where the user enters into the chatbot and it gives a text to the user, or it can be given as a multimedia, which is either file, video, speeches, audio, anything like that. The second phase is input analysis. Input analysis is kind of a back-end operation where your bot finds out which entities or intents has to be matched up with your responses so that it can give you a relevant answer. The third is dialogue management, where the bot actually finds your answer according to your desired output and gives back to you in the form of desirable way, like if you want it in a way of speeches, if you want video format, or in form you document way. The last and the most important way is reinforcement learning. There are many bots which is kind of a transactional way and the conversational way. So reinforcement learning is a conversational bot where it actually learns the responses on the basis of past experiences, so that in the future steps it could provide you better answers and better responses, and it could also improve the performance of the bot with respect to the time. Moving ahead with the next one. How does an AI chatbot work? So this is the very crucial thing which you should know if you decided to build a bot. First step is that a message has been entered by the user into the chatbot application, and that can be through any medium, for example, app, website, or it can be your emulators, or if you say devices, that is IoT devices, or phone call, any stuff. The second step is, as soon as you enter the text into the bot, it is actually capturing that information and go back to the backend where it actually finds the intents and entities which is actually dedicated to your response. For example, a person is saying that what is the time right now? So time is a kind of an entity which is actually focused in the backend operation, and the values have been saved which can be given to the user at that point of time. And the third step is returning the response. Returning the response is the crucial. Why? Because response is the one which is either right or wrong. If you get the right answer, that means the bot is performing very well. And if you are getting a little bit dizzy answers, that means your bot is a little bit confused and it needs to be improved in the backend side and has to be much more coded rather than hard coded. So there's a difference in reinforcement learning and a hard coded bot. So we prefer a conversational bot, not hard coded bot. If I move towards the use cases are like what do you say, the most common things which you should know that in which areas you can just build your bot. I would suggest 7 things which you should keep in mind. For example, first is e-commerce and the retail. That means that many websites like Flipkart's, Amazon, and many multimedia companies are actually focusing on their bot system. Why? Because in order to provide good performance in less time, a bot can be into help. And how can you do that? It can just get some frequent questions from users and answer it with respect to the responses which is actually desiring by them. So this is actually saving the time of a user in the customer support team, and also it is giving you personalized recommendations on the products. Like if you are going to the shopping like Amazon, it is giving you recommendations that okay, this thing is looking good on the basis of your previous searches, and it can give you a lot more things that you can expect in a less time. Financial service is like what do you say, keeping your balance and your what do you say, the banking accounts. It is actually giving you the transaction list. It is actually updating you like how much money have you spent, or it can give you the updates on what offers are being offered by the companies, the banking accounts, and a lot more services can be offered in terms of financials. The next is healthcare. Healthcare bot is the most usable bots, because this is very, very important in terms of daily life, as we can just appointments from doctors in just one click. We can just see how many rooms are available, how many beds are available, or what is the nearest hospital on a current location, and a lot more stuff can be just visible through healthcare bots. It can also give you like suggestions on what kind of medication you have to take if you find like similar diseases, for example cough, cold syrup, something like that. So education. Okay, education is like the basic necessity, because education is like where the main administration work going on. So if you go like working on like assignments, like checking your assignments, or maybe just getting feedback from students, or it can be finding a question from the net using the Wikipedia APIs, and it is just giving you frequent answer in just one click. So education is the first major thing that can actually educate a lot of population from younger to older in just a one click bot. The next is insurance. Insurance is like just saving their time, like giving you the suggestions on upcoming insurance policies and update on your policies, or if you have any outdated policies in which you are actually going on, or if you want to have another new policy which is launched by the government. So this can be handled using bots, because it is actually giving you simple and basic information in the form of a single text in the notification. Travel and hospitality is like giving you opportunity to book tickets to travel another place, or it is actually showcasing you what are the vacancies and at what date you can do this, or availability of rooms, bed, and what do you want to do. So here are the examples. For example, I have made a oval shape where I have seen the use cases. For example, the gaming is there, the hospitality is there, eating is there, eating outlets like what food would you like to have. The shopping markets are there, flight bookings are there. So there are lots of stuff which can be actually optimized using bot and making it as a more input in short time. Now moving ahead with build with Microsoft. If you have to think like why do we build with Microsoft, I would first suggest you whatever bot you build, start with an EcoBot. And what is EcoBot? EcoBot is whatever text you send, you get it back in return. It's like hello, the bot says hello. So this is the way that EcoBot works. Now I will talk about Azure Bot Service, that is actually provided by the Microsoft, which enables you to manage, to build, to deploy, publish your bot, and the bot have controls and ownership, and that is yours. Not anything is owned by Microsoft. So Align says that build from simple QA bot to the sophisticated virtual assistant, because if you go from a simple journey to the sophisticated one, I think you will get a greater success and in less time. Now, Microsoft also provides an open source SDK, because not only you are limited to Azure services, but you are open to apply any open source libraries, APIs from like Facebook, Slack, and another API which is actually available through public domains. So open source SDK is open to 4 languages, that is JavaScript, C Sharp, Python, and Java. And Python and Java is in still preview stage. That means more features needs to be added in future, and they are actually currently working on that. So open source SDK is allowing you to actually connect it to various channels, devices, and it is giving you the ability to test your bot in your local system also with extendable features. And extendable feature means that you can try any features using any open source libraries, no limitations, no restrictions. Now, if I talk about features powered by AI bot, okay, so Microsoft gives you a variety of features. First feature I would like to talk about is easy to start. Easy to start is like a genuine one because it is just like a one click opening up your Azure Bot Service and just getting your bot ready with so much built-in templates, and you're just ready to just hard code it or just making your custom bots just according to your customizations. The next is natural conversation experience. That is that it is providing you cognitive services, which is actually giving you a lot of features to just not only give you the answers according to the response, but it is actually giving you the answers learned from the past experience. That is reinforcement learning comes into the action. And next step is open source. As I talked in the previous slide, that it is giving you the open source SDK. That means you are allowed to experiment any open source technology. You're like you're just feel free to just apply any technology. Then enterprise grade, that means a lot of big multinational companies are actually using their services to design a sophisticated bot. That means a complex bot which is actually embedding a lot of complex features, like going from recommendations, different kind of categories, selections, prices, and upcoming details, notifications, and a lot of features are there actually. So that is a complex bot which is enterprise level. Next is multilingual and multimodal. It is available in variety of languages, and you can just not only embed a language bot, you can also just add speech services from cognitive services. You can just add on video services. You can add on the search APIs also, and a lot more things you can add just in multilingual and multimodal feature. And the last one is the my favorite one, that is the extensible. Like you can just add on any feature, like if you can just integrate with Facebook also, where you have a messenger API, you could just go right now and just append the APIs given by the messenger and give your bot a new bot, like a new what do you say uh, leverage bot. Exactly, the leverage bot is like a more experienced and more customizable, and of course it is working with higher improvement rate and giving you more precise answers just according to the response of user. Then we came across Bot Framework. That is, your assistant is actually your brand, and your brand means your personality. Every company have their bot, but how they work is defined by their true brand values and their personality also. Like what they actually care about their users and what kind of a services they are providing in terms of customer teams. So if I say that it have features like speech, Q&A, language understanding, vision, and search. First of all, I would say speech is the best one because it is the bot is not only limited to the text bot, but is also voice assistance, where you can just add up your voice and say like, I want to see that product. So it will quickly go into the backend and give you the answers according to the desired entity and intents. The next is Q&A. There is a transactional bot, which I talked previously. So a transactional bot is a bot where you just have a hard-coded and a dedicated question and answer format, where you just have to have a click on some selective questions. It will give you some selective answers on the basis of previously selected questions. So it is hard-coded also, and it is kind of a bit more reinforcement learning, but that will depend upon your customizations, and it differs from companies to companies. So Q&A is like giving answers to the questions asked by bot, and followed by another questions to questions to questions, and this is how Q&A bot works. The next is language understanding. Language understanding is very simple, that it is following the principle of reinforcement learning, and there is a feature called Lewis, which is actually learning from what is desired by the user generally, and what are the previous FAQs, that is frequently asked questions, and what can be the most answered questions, and how can I give more good answers. The next is recognitions, and recognitions is done using custom vision APIs, and this can be custom vision and it can be pre-built visions also. So we can just make our bot work on faces or images or documents, and it can just apply their vision APIs. For example, if I give example of form recognition from government, it can just give out the form and get the output of what exactly is written in the form. So that is the main advantages of using recognitions. The next and the last one is the search APIs, where you just give your content, like what do you want to search. It will just go on the APIs, like Wikipedia APIs. It will just go and check what kind of a content you are actually asking it and giving you the results in return. So these are the main cognitive services which are offered by the Microsoft when you are building your bot. And this is, I think, the best framework I have ever seen, because you are getting features not only limited to text, but more than text. And this is not a simple chatbot, but it is actually your assistant, which will help you to do your work in short period of time. So next one is Bot Framework Sdk and Azure Bot Services. Microsoft is providing you Azure Bot Services, but you should know what is Bot Framework Sdk in person. So Azure Bot Services is not only giving you the opportunity to just manage, connect, deploy, but it's actually allowing you to integrate your Azure services. As I spoke in the last slide, that is, you are connecting to speech, you are connecting to text, you are connecting to search APIs and more of that, and integrating into your bot and publishing and deploying your bot in public areas. And the next is the Bot Framework Sdk. It is kind of an open source, because open source is where you just experiment a lot of features which is actually available in the public domain and giving you out the best results, which is not only limited to the Microsoft. So what it's doing is, it is actually giving you the emulators, which is actually run into the local computers, and you can just test your bot the way you want. For example, if you have deployed an EcoBot, you can just see that is it working in my local computer or not. So if you are sure and you are 100% go for it, then you can just publish on your Azure Bot Services on different channels, like whatever channels you want, and you can just go and publish and deploy it and see how people are interacting with that bot. The next is development. Whenever we talk about development, we should actually plan it before developing. I think the structural planning is very, very important in terms of development of any bot. It is an eco bot, it is a sophisticated bot, or it is a simple bot, just doing certain number of tasks. But I think planning, designing, and all of these structural implementations need to be done to enable a broader experience end-to-end users. So if I talk about, there are exactly 6 features which needs to be focused while development. The first one is design, second is build, third is test, publish, connect, and evaluate. There's a double arrow between build and test. It means that as soon as you build it, you just test it. And if that test fails, you just go back to the build state, because that is not giving you the desirable output. So you go back to the build stage. And then if you find that test is working fine, then you go towards publish, then you go towards connect, and then in the last, evaluation. And then if you need to see that this bot needs to have more improvement, then you can go back to the build stage, because you can add a lot of features that needs to be implemented and could have a great, good feedback from the user side. If I talk system to system wise, I would say design. Design is like when you're actually planning that what kind of a data you are required for that bot building and what goals you need to have in order to complete this bot. For example, I need to develop a bot which is actually classifying an email which is spam or not spam. So you need to have knowledge also, you need to have data sources also, and we have general knowledge also, and you should need to design a goal that, okay, the goal is classifying a mail into spam or not spam. So this is the designing phase where you have to have a blueprint to build your bot. The next one is build stage. Build stage is very important, where we just use either Azure Bot Services or we use Bot Builder Sdk. It's up to us. So what we do is we take input, and input can be in a form of tap. Tap is kind of a button format where you just tap it on certain buttons, or you can just have adaptive cards. Adaptive cards is like when you click on some certain buttons, it generates a lot more adaptive card according to the recommendations generated on basis of previous answers entered by you. And the next one is textual format, and the last one is speech format, where you just give voice answers to know what kind of a questions they are having. So after the input stage, where we have skill phase. Skill phase is like either you have a dedicated bot where it's performing a single task, or it is either customizable without using any pre-built templates, where you can just make your bot to work either just performing some SQL queries to perform this and this task, or you can just perform automations to do certain number of tasks, for example, form recognitions, or you can just do any analysis of any kind of a text. That is up to us, that how much customization we wanted. So after the build stage, we move on to the test stage. Test stage have two methods. First is emulator method, as I talked about. Emulators can be downloaded into your computer, and you can run your bot locally in order to test what kind of a services and answer it is providing you right now. So you can, like, you are make sure that, okay, this bot is perfectly working fine. The next is web interface. You can either deploy your bot into the Azure portal to see that is it working fine or not fine. So that is the way. So if you test it and if you find that this bot is actually working fine and giving you the desirable answers, you can just move forward to the publish stage. And if you do not find that it is not giving you the answers which you are actually coding it before that, so you can just go back into the build stage anytime and improve your bot to give you better performance. And in the last stage, you're going to publish it anyhow. So publishing is like you are just going on Azure Bot Services and deploying your bot on Azure portal, or you can just feel free to deploy your bot on any other web services or data centers. Okay, so Microsoft supports a variety of channels, and channels can be premium standard. It's up to us. Connect is like you can connect your bot to any platform. For example, Slack, for example, Teams, Messenger, Skype, Messages, Cortana, any platform. You are open to it. The thing is that if you are going to have standard plans, then you are limited to certain number of channels. That is Teams, Cortana, and if you are going towards the premium channels, then you have to have a certain amount of price that needs to be paid by you for a certain amount of messages, because Microsoft wants to use your products. So they are providing you services that you should use their products, and you are giving free messages. That is up to them. The last one is evaluate. Evaluation is very important because we have to see how many customers have been interacted and at what geographic location the customers are majorly online, or maybe just like how many customers have bought your products, or how many customers have been given recommendations on certain number of products, and it can be anything. So evaluation is very important to maintain the health of your bot. Evaluation is like a managing and monitoring your bot. Next is templates. Templates is like a pre-built design of your bot, which is actually used by customers from beginners to the expert level. And if I would say that there are 3 levels, that means 3 pre-built templates are designed for users to get started with their any kind of a bot. First is EcoBot, second is Core Bot, third is Empty Bot. EcoBot is like which I talked, that if you say that hello, it will give you back the same response as you entered. Code is that you are actually getting a lot of customized and lot of advanced features to work on user responses, for example, language understanding, for example, authentication facilities, and it can be adaptive card facilities, and a lot of features are offered in core bot. It is actually the master of all bots. The last is empty bots. Empty bots are specifically for those who do not want to use the pre-built features, but they want their customized bot, which is dedicated for limited number of tasks, or if they want to start with the complex one for their companies, so they can start with empty bot. Now, if I talk about that, advantages of creating a bot have a lot of features. For example, it is just increasing the scalability. That means it is giving you the output in less amount of time. It is actually managing your data, and of course on the cloud. And it is actually what do you say? In less price, you are getting more output. So I think this is a very desirable service which you should know, because you are actually automating a human task, which is saving a lot of time and resources. And it is faster because as soon as you launch it in the market, it is giving you precise features to the users to use their services according to the recommendations generated. It is also updating the users with latest technologies, latest information about your products, so this will attract users to come into your website and buy some products according to their needs. And it is lower cost because if you are using their products on channels like Cortana, Teams, or maybe just like another public available channels, then you are at lower cost. But if you see that you are using some highly premium channels, that would be of course costing you so much. So I would prefer if you start getting bot onto Teams and then moving that bot into premium channels, that will be a very great fit for you. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little short demo just in order to show you that what is bot, what is EcoBot, and how can you just make it using the open source SDK. So for creating a EcoBot, you have to create first a basic bot, then run it into your local machine using terminals, then test it in the emulators. And emulators are the ones which is downloaded into your local machines, and there you can just test your bot, like is it working the way you designed it and code it or not. So right now it is supporting only 4 languages. First is Python, second is C#, third is Java, and fourth is JavaScript. Highly recommended that if you are starting with it, use it C# and JavaScript, because Python and Java is still in preview stage and you are getting a little bit less of features as compared to C# and JavaScript. So if I talk about prerequisites, if you are going to use Python, Python is solely used for this demo because you need to know what kind of a short methods can you apply just in order to create your first bot. So version is 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, and you have to install the Bot Framework emulators into your local machine using the links which is provided in the Microsoft documentations. Then the next step is step 1. Step 1 is like installing all your requirements, libraries, open source tools, and it doesn't matter if you use virtual environments or without virtual environments, because it will be working without also. So there are 5 steps which you need to do before getting started with the EcoBot. You have to install all the requirements. And the last one, there is C, that cookie cutter is actually implementing a template, and the template is called Eco. Eco is like EcoBot template is being used here. So you just have to just download it so that it can just get embedded into your emulator and you can just start using it. Step 2 is as soon as you run it into the terminal, you will have an option to name your bot. You can just name anything. For example, here I have named it EcoBot. You can just give a name like Hello World, or maybe like my first bot, or like hi, anything. Like it's up to you. Next is giving descriptions. Giving descriptions is the important thing because you should know that what is the goal of your bot. For example, EcoBot is like demonstrating the core capabilities, or maybe just giving you the same response. So you should have a description too. So here it says that a bot that echo back user response. The next is you are just starting your bot and running or terminal. So as soon as you run it, the app, and the files are loaded as soon as you use the cookie cutter. Here in the first step, in the last one where you're using cookie cutter, it is actually loading all the files which are actually required to start using the EcoBot, and that is exactly the pre-built template of Eco. So as soon as you run it on the terminal, you are just getting the localhost, and what you do is in the step 2, you just adding the bot URL, which is which you got in the terminal thing. So you just copy paste it and use that and open a bot emulator. And what you do is press the connect button, and in the next step, as soon as you press the connect button, it is actually letting you to test that EcoBot. So you can write hello, or you can just write anything like hi, hello world, or welcome to the world of bots, or human being, and any keyword. Like, feel free to use any kind of word, because it is actually in return giving you the eco. So this is the most simplest bot you will ever see. The next is, if you want to develop your bot using Azure Bot Services, like if you don't want to go for open source SDK, but you want to prefer Azure Bot Services, because actually it is providing you a lot more features in just one service, so you can go for that. So I have designed a 3-step for you. That is, create an Azure account. It can be a student account, or it can be a free tier account, or it can be a business account. Then you have to go for design a sophisticated bot. If you are an expert, or you may be a experienced person, then you can just design a complex bot at one go. But if you are just a beginner, then just go for the EcoBot and just try out that template which I shown in the previous slide to start with the bot. And the last is select connections and publish it. Connections is very important, because you want to see that how well your bot is working at different challenges. For example, Teams, Cortana, or Slack, public APIs. And you can see how well your bot is working. So grab your phone, scan it, and see that you will see a website which is actually giving you an opportunity to create an account, and it is actually giving you a step-by-step, like step 1, step 2, and step 3, which will help you to design a bot using Azure Bot Services. So grab your phone and try that bot. And the next step, this is the last one, which is just letting you interact with your phone. That is, scan it, connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with me on Twitter. And of course, if you feel that you are inspired for creating a bot, not limited to text bot, but if you feel inspired, like if you want to create a bot which is actually solving a real world problem with AI driven solutions, or if you find that your bot is reusable with another one, or maybe just solving any real problem nearby you, maybe country, maybe city, or maybe in your local area, and if your bot is working and helping them, then please let me know on LinkedIn or Twitter and tag me there, that if I inspired you for real, then let me know, because this will help me to inspire more others that what ideas are being seen after this workshop. And if you want some ideas, I can give 1 or 2 right now. You can either just try form recognition, where it is my favorite one. You can just help the government during the form recognition using their forms, public forms, and just getting some text out of that and making some databases, installing all of their data and giving to the government back. This will just save their time and of course the resources. The next idea can be plant detection, species detection, and animal detection, or pathogen detection, and cars detection, lane detection. There are lots of stuff. So if you feel like I'm inspiring you in any other way, and you are developing your bot in any of the phases you are stuck, then let me know. I'm going to help you. You can just reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter and let me know. So thank you.